Miyamoto Musashi won more than 60 duels until his death, and never lost. Think about that for a second. 60 confrontations. 60 times looking into the eyes of someone who wanted to kill you, and walking away alive from all of them. But here's the part almost no one talks about, and it can completely change the way you see discipline, mental strength, and self-control. Musashi's real secret was not the sword. It was a brutal principle, silent, that he applied every single day without exception, regardless of how he was feeling. A principle that forged his mind like steel, and that most people will never know, not because it's inaccessible, but because it demands something few are willing to give. Have you been through this? That feeling of knowing what you need to do, having the intention, having the plan, but when the moment comes, discipline simply vanishes, as if something inside you sabotaged everything before you even started. If yes, stay with me until the end, because what you're going to discover here might be exactly what was missing for your discipline to become unbreakable. What Musashi understood about the human mind was something that goes far beyond physical training or combat technique. It was an entire life philosophy built on a single foundation. And when you understand that foundation, you'll look at your own routine with different eyes. What you're about to discover might surprise you. And before continuing, I need to pause here for a moment, because what comes next is dense, it's powerful, and I want to make sure you're with me in this conversation. Right here in the comments, I choose discipline, not excuses. It seems simple, but it's not. This phrase touches something that many people carry in silence, the awareness that they know what they need to do, but haven't done it yet. Writing this here is a real first step, a public commitment to yourself. And maybe you don't know this, but each comment helps the algorithm show this video to more people who are also seeking to evolve, whether through Japanese philosophy or through any path that requires the courage to change. So participate in this conversation and become part of a community focused on discipline, purpose, and personal transformation. Your participation here is what makes this channel grow and reach more people with this kind of content. It's not about numbers. It's about real impact on the life of someone who might be exactly where you were one day. And if you truly believe, really believe, that discipline is worth more than motivation, like this video right now. Not because I'm asking, but because this signals to the algorithm that this content deserves to reach more people who think like you. And if you want to continue developing a strong, strategic, disciplined mind, subscribe to the channel. Because here it's not about empty inspiration. Here is where ordinary men learn to think like strategists. With that done, let's get to what Musashi really taught us. The true enemy of the warrior. Musashi spent years preparing to face the greatest swordsman in Japan. He studied every movement, every technique, every detail of the art of combat. But at no point in his journey did he say that the greatest danger came from outside. He said it came from inside. Before defeating any enemy, the samurai had to defeat his own mind. This is a hidden truth that few ever really stop to face. Laziness doesn't show up screaming. It arrives. Slowly, disguised as deserved rest, as "I'll start tomorrow," as "I'm not at my best today." Distraction doesn't warn you that it's consuming you. It simply occupies the space where discipline should be. And this is where everything starts to make sense. Because the battle Musashi described centuries ago is exactly the battle you fight today, just with different weapons against you. Procrastination replaced the fear of a duel. Digital vices replaced the distractions of the ancient world. Lack of focus became the new weakness preventing transformation. The impact of this on your life goes far beyond productivity. An undisciplined mind makes weak decisions, and weak decisions build a life you didn't choose. You simply accepted it. There's a more subtle level beneath this. Comment here. My greatest enemy lives inside me, and I choose to face him. Musashi's brutal secret. Here's the part most people don't want to hear, but need to. Musashi wasn't disciplined because he felt motivated. He was disciplined because he had made an unshakable decision to train every day, regardless of anything. Sword, mind, strategy, self-control. Each of these pillars was worked on daily, not when the will appeared, but especially when it disappeared. And this is where everything starts to make sense. Because most people wait to feel like it before they act. They wait for motivation to knock on the door, for the right moment, for ideal energy. But Musashi understood something that goes against everything we've been taught. Willpower is a consequence of action, not its cause. The warrior trains especially on the days when he has no will. This phrase seems simple, but it carries a hidden truth that completely transforms your relationship with your own journey. Because deep down, discipline is not a gift. It's not something you have or don't have. It's something you build, repetition by repetition, decision by decision, even on the days when everything inside you screams to stop. The Japanese principle of Kaizen, continuous and gradual improvement, was at the essence of everything Musashi practiced. It's not about explosive transformation, it's about silent consistency that over time creates an impact that no fleeting motivation can achieve. And look, while we're in this conversation, I need to tell you about something that can make a real difference in the way you'll apply all of this in practice. There's material I prepared specifically for those who got this far, who already felt that discipline is more than willpower and want to understand how to turn this into something concrete in their daily life. It's called The Path of Japanese Discipline, and it was built exactly on top of what we're talking about in this video. The proposal is straightforward. Transform an ordinary mind into a disciplined, focused, and unshakable mind, capable of acting every day, even when motivation fails, even when tiredness weighs heavy, even when no one is watching. This material works at the root of procrastination, teaches how to master unstable emotions, and builds that silent consistency that separates those who talk from those who really act. It's not fleeting enthusiasm. It's the ancestral method that sustains permanent results and has already impacted over 1 million people around the world. If it makes sense to you, take a look at the material I left down here in the description. This content might go offline at any moment, so if it's useful, take advantage of it while it's still available. It's here in the description, but I might take it down in the coming days. This material complements what we talked about here and can save you a lot of time in practice. That said, let's continue. The philosophy of repetition. There's something Musashi did that most people would ignore for thinking it's too simple. He repeated the same movements thousands of times, the same cut, the same posture, the same breathing, not because he didn't know how to execute it, but because he understood something profound about human nature that few stop to see. What you repeat becomes who you are. This is one of the most powerful hidden truths that exists, and it's present in almost all Japanese philosophy. It's not about talent, it's not about genius. It's about what you choose to do repeatedly, every day, even when it seems irrelevant. And this is where everything starts to make sense. The principle of Kaizen, this idea of continuous and gradual improvement, doesn't ask you to change everything at once. It asks something much more demanding than that you improve 1% every day, that you show up, that you repeat, that you trust the process even when results haven't appeared yet. The impact of this on your mindset is silent, but devastating in the good way, because every small decision you make every day is sculpting who you're becoming. It's not the big breakthrough that transforms a life. It's the invisible repetitions, done behind the scenes, away from the applause, that build a man's true character. Musashi didn't become undefeated by accident. He became undefeated because his journey was made of ordinary days, lived with extraordinary intention. There's a more subtle level beneath this. Comment here, I don't need to be perfect today. I need to be consistent forever. The mental code of the samurai. There's something that goes beyond technique, beyond physical training, beyond any skill Musashi could have developed. Something that functioned as the invisible backbone of everything he was. This something has a name, Bushido, the code of the warrior. It wasn't a set of rules written on paper. It was a way of existing, an identity assumed so completely that there was no separation between what the samurai did and what he was. Honor, self-control, responsibility, discipline. These weren't values he consulted when he needed to. They were the structure of his mind, the filter through which every decision passed, every action was evaluated, every thought was judged. And this is where everything starts to make sense, because the great revelation of Bushido is not about wars or duels. It's about the relationship you have with yourself when no one is watching. For the samurai, discipline was not a task to complete. It was an identity to honor. This distinction changes everything. When discipline is a task, you abandon it at the first sign of tiredness. But when discipline is who you are, abandoning it means betraying yourself. And that's a pain a man with a code can't ignore. The impact of this mentality on anyone's journey is profound, because it shifts the question from, do I have the will today, to, who do I choose to be today? A much more powerful question. A question that doesn't accept excuses as an answer. There's a more subtle level beneath this. Comment here. Discipline is not what I practice. It's who I am. Musashi's rule for mastering the mind. Shortly. Before his death, Musashi retreated to a cave and wrote one of the densest and most revealing documents in the history of Japanese philosophy. He called it Dokodo, which literally means the path one walks alone. There were 21 precepts, 21 principles that guided the way he saw life, decisions, and the mind itself. And one of them, in particular, carries a hidden truth that can completely change the way you deal with your difficult days. Accept everything exactly as it is. Simple to read, brutal to apply. Because acceptance is not resignation, it's not weakness, it's a total refusal to waste energy negotiating with reality. It's the end of complaints, victimhood, the excuses the mind creates with startling creativity when it doesn't want to act. And this is where everything starts to make sense, because most of the energy that should go toward action is consumed in this internal negotiation. I'm not in the right moment. The circumstances aren't ideal. If I had more time, more resources, more support. The human mind is a master at building convincing arguments to justify paralysis. Musashi didn't negotiate with his own mind, and that was exactly what made him undefeated. When you stop negotiating with your mind, discipline is born. This is the transformation no one tells you about because it seems too philosophical to have practical impact. But in the real journey of any man who has decided to be more, this principle is the turning point. The E. Day you stop waiting for perfect conditions and start acting within the real conditions is the day everything changes behind the scenes of your life. Dokodo was not a motivational manifesto. It was a code of absolute responsibility to yourself. There's a more subtle level beneath this. Comment here. Enough negotiating with my own mind. Today, I act. Here is the continuation. The daily ritual of the warrior. Everything we've talked about so far, the code, the principles, the philosophy, exists somewhere between the abstract and the real. And the bridge that connects these two worlds has a very concrete name: ritual. Musashi didn't wake up hoping to feel good to start his day. He had a structure, a sequence of actions that didn't depend on mood, energy, external motivation. It depended only on a decision made once and respected every day after. The first step was to get up without negotiating with the mind. It seems simple, but you know as well as I do what happens in the first seconds after the alarm goes off. The mind starts calculating. 5 more minutes. I can start later today. I'm tired. Musashi understood that this moment, this exact moment, was the first duel of the day, and the warrior who loses the first duel carries that defeat through the rest of the hours. And this is where everything starts to make sense, because every small surrender in the morning creates an invisible pattern of surrender that repeats throughout the entire day. The mind learns it can negotiate, and a mind that learned to negotiate will negotiate with everything. The second step was to train body and mind every day, without exception. Not when it worked out, not when there was time left over. Training was the structure around which the rest of life organized itself. The Japanese principle of shuhari, follow, break, transcend, begins exactly here. First, you follow the structure with total rigor, without questioning, without adapting. Only after mastering the foundation does real freedom appear. The third step was to keep your word to yourself, not the word given to others, the word given to yourself, because it's exactly there, in the silent commitments only you know about. That character is either formed or destroyed. Ritual creates discipline. not the other way around. Comment here. My day begins when I decide, not when I feel like it. Here is the continuation. There's transformation of identity. There's a moment in the journey of any man who decides to take discipline seriously. A moment that's hard to describe, but impossible to ignore when it happens. It's the moment you realize you're no longer forcing yourself. It's not that it became easy. It's not that tiredness disappeared or that difficult days vanished. It's that something changed behind the scenes of your mind. The structure that once seemed like a conscious effort became simply who you are. The ritual became nature. The decision became reflex. Discipline is not something you do. It's someone you become. This is the psychological turning point that Japanese philosophy describes with surgical precision. The concept of mushin, mind without mind, talks exactly about this, the state in which action flows without internal resistance, without negotiation, without drama. The samurai who reached mushin didn't think about each movement. He simply moved, because training had become identity. And this is where everything starts to make sense, because real transformation doesn't happen when you complete a 30-day challenge or when you hit a specific goal. It happens when you look back and realize that the person who needed to be motivated to act simply doesn't exist anymore. This impact goes far beyond productivity. It changes the way you make decisions, how you relate to others, how you see obstacles. A disciplined identity filters reality in a completely different way. There's a more subtle level beneath this. Comment here. I'm not trying to be disciplined. I'm becoming discipline. The moral lesson. After everything we've gone through together up to this point, there's a truth that needs to be stated clearly. Not as a conclusion, but as an anchor for everything you'll carry from this content. Musashi's brutal secret was not a sword technique. It wasn't speed. It wasn't strength. It wasn't even combat strategy, despite being one of the greatest strategists who ever lived. The secret was in a place that most people never have the courage to face honestly, inside their own mind. He dominated his own mind every day, without pause, without exception, without waiting for the right moment. And this is where everything starts to make sense. Because Japanese philosophy, in almost all its forms, whether in Bushido, Kaizen, Dokodo, or Mushin, always points in the same direction. The external battle is only a reflection of the internal battle, the world you face. Out there is built brick by the decisions you make in here. Whoever defeats himself defeats any battle. This is not a nice phrase to put in a frame. It's a revelation about how reality really works, behind the scenes of the life of any man who has decided to stop being a hostage to his own mind and start building something solid with the time he has. Comment here. My greatest battle is internal, and it's exactly the one I choose to win. If you made it this far, I want you to. Know that this already says a lot about who you're choosing to be. Most people give up halfway. You stayed, and that by itself is already an act of discipline. Right here in the comments, discipline. Just that. It's a simple way to tell me that you made it to the end and that this message made sense to you. And believe me, reading this in the comments is what motivates me to keep bringing this kind of content with the depth it deserves. If this video helped you in any way, like it now, because this helps YouTube deliver this message to more people who are also on this transformation journey and need to hear it. Here on the channel, we talk about mental strategies that almost nobody explains with this depth. If you want to continue developing a strong and disciplined mindset, subscribe now so you don't miss the next videos. There's content coming that will complement everything we've built here. And look, there's material I pinned here in the first comment. It's the path of Japanese discipline, and if what you saw in this video made sense, this material goes one level beyond. It delivers the complete method in a practical and direct way, so you can go from understanding to real action. Click the link that's in the first pinned comment and take a look. It might be exactly what's missing in your journey. And if you're a channel member, you already know you have access to exclusive content, behind the scenes, and a deeper layer of everything we discuss here. If you're not a member yet, consider joining, because that's where the conversation gets really serious. There's a video right here next to this one that complements this subject. Click and continue with me over there.